on Jess for Jessfor30. I'd like to get started today with a fantastic book written by today's guest. I'm going to just read this. The foreword is by Lloyd Carr, head coach of 1997 national champion Michigan Wolverines. The book is called You're Allowed to Try, a coach's playbook on discipline, adversity, and personal excellence by our guest, Lawrence Jake Sweeney. Here's the book, and please go out and buy it. I've read it twice in the last 2 weeks. It's $20 through Amazon, and it's really the best book I've read in a long time. 102 pages. It's great. Jake has lived a wonderful life, a 4-year starter at center for legendary Michigan football coach Bo Schembechler. After football in 1986, Jake began his legendary career with the U.S. Border Patrol. He's a husband, a father, a grandfather, and as you will soon find out, so much more. Welcome, Jake.
Thank you, Ron. It's a pleasure to be here. I really appreciate the invitation. It's been an enjoyable experience getting to know you. One thing that I've always said about people, and I enjoy, and I'm attracted to someone who's passionate, and you, my friend, are passionate about what you do, and I appreciate that.
Thanks, Jake. Yeah, we and you as well.
It's been said.
Yeah. Training with you out in Canton, it's been awesome, and I thank you for that.
You're just getting started, so you don't judge it yet.
Well, we're getting there, Jake.
There
it's
you
gonna
go.
take a minute.
There
okay?
you go.
But I'm trying.
Yep.
Tell us about your mom and dad growing up in a small town, Alma, Michigan.
Yeah, it was. Looking back, and at the time, I didn't really know any different. I'm, solidly middle class. My dad was a teacher and a coach, and my mom was a nurse, and we had a nice home and a nice small town. And I really didn't. I didn't want for anything. We had a cottage up north we used to spend time in the summer at, and my grandmother was a huge influence in my life, and she was around, and it was good. Of course, when I was in high school getting ready to leave and go off and play ball at Michigan, the only thing I wanted to do was get out of Alma and never come back. And, you go full circle. I was telling Tori earlier, I got some friends that went off and, did their lives and made their fortunes and came back and bought nice homes and on the golf course in Alma and have beautiful homes, and they live in a small town. When I go back, I'm like, this is pretty cool. I don't think I'd want to live there, but I always enjoy going back. I still have roots there and with the school, and it's good memories. Good memories. It was a nice place to grow up.
Jake, your grandfather had a great career. How did that influence you?
Well, I never met him. He passed away in 1955 at the age of 52. It was after my dad's freshman year, or before my dad's freshman year at Central. Both my grandfather and my father were football players at Central Michigan University. In fact, I mentioned in the book that there's a residence hall that's named after my grandfather, Sweeney Hall, on Central's campus. But he was a great coach. I tell people he was an All-MAC football player. He was a center. And his other sport, which is unheard of, you hear complimentary sports, but his other sport was gymnastics. He was a center on the football team, and he did the pommel horse and the rings, and was a gymnastics, a great gymnast, and he was a gymnastics coach at Central also.
Well, your senior year at Alma, you were All-State, All-American. That had to be, what a thrill that had to be, an All-American, and pretty much opening up full scholarships anywhere you wanted to go, Notre Dame, Michigan, Alabama, probably. I know you visited, I believe, Notre Dame.
Yeah. It was pretty much between the whole time. It was funny because Michigan had a reputation. Now, this is before the camps and the internets and the highlight reels and all the stuff. It was kind of word of mouth stuff. But Michigan always had a reputation of getting in early on high school players that they were recruiting. And I remember it was an afternoon in the spring of my sophomore year. And my coach called me into the athletic office, and he said, "There's someone here to see you." And it was one of Bo's staff members, a guy, Terrell Burton, who had been with Bo since Miami, Ohio. And he was in his blue blazer, and he came to visit me and introduce himself and tell me that he'd heard about my football skills, and I was only at the end of my sophomore year. I hadn't even played varsity yet. And I was like, wow. And I was already thinking of that. I was dreaming big about, being a Division I player and possibly even playing professionally. And I was like, I wasn't a Michigan fan. I wasn't a Michigan State fan. I was always a Notre Dame guy. And lo and behold, about 3 days later, coach called me up and said, hey, come on down to the coaching office. And one of our assistant coaches from Notre Dame was there. So they were the first 2 teams in on me when I was end of my sophomore year. And after that, I was recruited by, everyone around the country. But I had pretty much, it was just between Michigan and Notre Dame. I took a visit to Indiana when Lee Corso was there, and I took a visit to University of Minnesota. And then Michigan State came in on me late, which was surprising. They didn't even really know I was around until I was named captain of the State Journal team. It was a State Journal. I don't know if you know it's around in Lansing anymore. And they showed up to the school and like, we didn't even know you were up here, which probably is not a way to recruit somebody after their senior season. But I liked the coach that was recruiting me. And then right in the middle of recruiting season, Daryl Rogers decided to take off to Arizona State. So it was like a Tuesday. I had a visit scheduled to go to Michigan State. He said, hey, why don't you come out to Arizona State? So I had the momentous choice of going to East Lansing on a Friday afternoon for a weekend from Alma, which is about 50 miles away, or get on an airplane and fly out to Tempe, Arizona in February. I've maybe been on an airplane about twice since then in my life. And I chose Tempe and had a great time. And when I came back after 3 days, I was seriously considering Arizona State until a late night phone call from a guy named Schembechler who told me, no, I wouldn't be going to Arizona State. Mm-hmm. I'd be going to Michigan, and I'd be visiting that 3 days after that. And that's kind of how it ended. So I was offered by Notre Dame, and I was, and I wasn't enamored with the campus.
Or Dan Devine.
Well, Dan Devine wasn't a fiery guy. I'm attracted to people that are passionate, and I call him affectionately the old man. Mm-hmm. He, I say in the book, he's intensity personified, and that's what he is. And I was very fortunate to play for him. I was very fortunate to have 3 great coaches that coached me: my father, and then my high school coach, and then Bo Schembechler. And my high school coach is the only guy that's still around, so I stay in contact with him.
You will switch gears for just a second,
Sure.
Jake. On Saturday, you had the pleasure of speaking with my wife, American history major, Catholic social studies master, teacher, charter school principal, Saint Michelle. Isn't she the greatest?
She has to be if she's put up with you for 40 some years.
Oh,
okay,
cut that.
And I say that affectionately.
Yeah, no, she's awesome, and I just had to throw that in.
Yeah,
I like to talk about Michelle, and she's a great lady. Every show we do is for veterans, charities, and foundations. Well, what is yours, Jake?
2 things, actually. I do Tunnel to Towers and have for years, but I've also been very supportive of Wounded Warriors. In fact, a teammate of mine, Rich Hewlett, was a great friend and played with him. He was a guy out of Salem High School. He would coordinate getting 4 tickets, nice tickets for any game. And we'd pick a game, and then we would donate to Wounded Warriors out of Canton. They have a branch. And a young lady that runs a jewelry store there was in charge of that, and we would donate 4 tickets to a home game, and they would auction them at their annual golf outing. And people would pay thousands for these seats, and we did that for years. And I think that branch, the Canton branch of Wounded Warriors, and I'm not quite exactly sure of the amount, but I think they raised over a couple $1 million, just that chapter. So we did that for years. She's not running it anymore; someone else is, but we're still amenable to doing that. And I would help. I would kind of coordinate that, and then Rich would get the tickets.
Rich Hewlett?
Rich Hewlett, yeah. He was a teammate of mine.
Yeah, I was supposed to do a golf outing with him and Jeff Wiska and Lance Parrish, I believe it was. And we're working on it right now. John James is going to do a show, I think, in our front yard with a tent and 100 people. And we'll see what John James is face-to-face.
Yeah.
Looked at the book twice, read it thoroughly the first time, and went through it last night. Really nice you dedicated your book to Dawn.
Yeah, my wife of 39 years here in about 3 weeks. And she's a special lady. I probably wouldn't, well, I for sure probably wouldn't be here if it weren't for her. She's kept me between the lines and and been my rock and my coach. And sometimes, I'm not the most coachable person at times. In fact, I read a chapter about being coachable. And sometimes when you first hear coaching, you don't want to accept it. But it's always good to kind of introspect and look in and get coached. But she's an awesome lady. She's very, very passionate about what she does. And she's been a wonderful wife and she's a grandmother now and a mother and just a rock. Just a rock.
We're going to talk about her career, which is amazing, in a little while.
Sure.
But your son, Jake Sweeney, artistically known as G-Rex, he's killing it. He's off the charts.
Yeah. He's worked hard. He's a talented young man. My father, besides being a coach and a great athlete, my dad was an artist. He was an art teacher, and he was amazing in several different medias. And they say that musical skills and artistic skills are sometimes passed on. Well, they weren't passed on to me. Let's just say they skipped a generation. Mm-hmm. And we actually named my son Jake. His legal name is Michael Sweeney, after my father. And he got the musical side of the talent. He's always been artistic, and he's followed his dream. He went to University of Michigan, got a degree in business, graduated, and came home and said, this really isn't what I want to do. And my wife, who is a big thinker, and we believe in chasing our dreams, and she said, what do you want to do? And he said, I want to pursue this music thing. So he went to Los Angeles to a music production school for a year, and he was identified by some of the people there as having talent. And, ever since then, he's skyrocketed. But he works hard. I find anybody, after 64 years on this earth and studying successful people are talented, but they're hard workers. It doesn't just happen. And in order to sustain that, you have to work hard. And he's a grinder. He works every day to get better. He doesn't take time off. He's focused, and I'm real proud of his success.
Yeah, Jake Sweeney, G-Rex. I believe it's techno and rap and
they call it house music, EDM, but he's all over the charts. He produces a lot of music and does what they call sound packs that sell to people, and people use them for music and stuff. And he has a Twitch stream that he does 3 days a week. And he really is. He's all over. Travels a lot, tours.
And your daughter Alden, what's she?
She's followed in my wife's footsteps. So my wife has been with Mary Kay Cosmetics for over 40 years now. She's been a national sales director for the last over 2 decades. My daughter's what they call a Cadillac sales director with Mary Kay, and she started doing her Mary Kay business when she was in college at Western Michigan, and she's been doing it ever since, and she's very successful, one of the top people, and one of the young people in the company that really is, they look to for leadership, and, it's been fun to watch her progress too. And she's coached by my wife also.
Mm-hmm. Everybody is.
Everybody is.
Jake, let's talk some U of M football. Sure. We've had at least 10 of the U of M men on Jessfor30, from Jim Brandstatter to all the Mellow Men. That's an interesting group.
Yeah.
Some of those guys.
I know those, yeah.
Glenn Dowdy, Touchdown Billy Taylor. Tom Darden is awesome. He's in the Hall of Fame through the Cleveland Browns.
Those guys are great players, man. We used to always refer to those guys as the old guys, and now guess what? We're the old guys.
Well, what's funny, how you started at Michigan, they couldn't. Their freshman year, they had a JV team. None of those guys. And 6 of them were in the NFL, I think.
Yeah.
6.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there were different rules. I mean, it's, that was a different time.
Well, we had one of my favorite guys on the planet who has answered the bell every time. I've called him 4, 5, 6 times to do charity things or to come on here or to do this or that. And he always, Mark Messer, Hall of Fame.
I listened to that. It was the first podcast I listened to just after I met you, and it was great.
Well, yeah, it was fun.
He was a great player. Another guy that's intensity personified.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That one story is pretty funny. His first time on Michigan Stadium, he's playing Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And he gets down and stands and he throws up on the offensive tackle and then tackles the quarterback.
He was fun to watch. He came in. I had already left. I graduated. My last game was the 1984 Sugar Bowl. So my last season was 1983. So he came in as a freshman after I was already gone. But he played against, and he was on a team that my college roommate, Doug James, was captain of, the 84 team. and he was a freshman. I remember Doug telling me, this kid is just an animal.
Yeah.
And they had some good players in that class. And Jumbo Elliott was in that class, and Harbaugh was a year ahead. So Harbaugh was a sophomore that year, or a junior. I don't recall it. So got to go back in. But there were some players on that team. They had some injuries. It was Bo's, that 84 team was a 6-6 team.
Ooh.
And there's kind of a stigma that gets brought around at reunions and stuff. But they had some injuries and things didn't go good, and it wasn't tough. But there was a lot of, if you follow Michigan football the next year, they did very well, won the Big Ten, I believe, and went out. And I don't know, won the Big Ten. They won the Fiesta Bowl, maybe. I'm not sure. I don't really follow it that well, but they bounced back from that.
Yeah, Mark talks. They beat Ohio State three out of the four, all 4 years.
Yeah.
They had their number.
Yeah, they did.
All great men. Another one right here locally in town. He coached my grandson in football at Brighton. He's a center. Austin Slazar is a cool kid.
There we go.
1997 national champ. Clint Copenhaver.
Sure, remember him well. Here in Brighton.
Oh,
yeah.
I've had a lot of people. People have called and said that was of everything. They really enjoyed that because he's such a solid guy.
Sure.
And he just tells it the way it is. Doesn't offer a lot more than what you ask.
Right.
And I'm not saying that in a bad way. He's just an honest, tough, good guy.
Well, if you went through the program for 4 years, first of all, if you were selected by Michigan or Bo Schembechler or any of his people, Lloyd Carr included, and you went through the program for 4 years, it's kind of hard not to be, a good person and a successful person, because it was a good training ground. Besides, the academic environment at Michigan, just being part of the team and part of that community is special.
Yeah, talking about special, is your first time as a freshman. You're going to run out and you're going to play center and start. And all those guys we just talked about, one of the questions I'll ask you is that first time running out at the tunnel and jumping up and hitting the flag in front of 112, 115,000. What's that like, Jake?
Well, it was great, but I wasn't that concerned about it, because here's a little thing I don't really talk about it a lot, but I look back. My whole career, I never played in a rain game before this. And that game, my first game at Michigan, when I found out I was going to be starting that first game, was they delayed the game 20 minutes to bring like these steamroller things out and to roll the tartan turf, because there was water just flowing off the field. It was a torrential downpour, and they delayed the start of the game a while. And we'd done some wet ball drills, but I hadn't played in that kind of weather, and I thought, this is just Murphy's Law, man. My first game out there, and if I screw something up, it's going to be the end of me, But things went well. I remember the first play. I snapped it back to Don Bracken, the punter. They brought him in the same time as me, and he was a great player. Played in the NFL for years. He passed away a few years ago. He's a great friend. And I remember that Michigan never was known for having good kickers or punters, and they brought him in, and he was just a phenom. And I fired the ball back to him, and he punted the ball. I think he punted it like through the end zone up into the netting of the goalpost. It was just out of control. The thing was just like orbiting, and people were just freaking out, and all of a sudden Michigan had a real punter. And they hadn't had one for a while, but it was good. So there wasn't that. I wasn't that thing where I was going to pass out or hyperventilate or jump up and knock the whole thing down. It just was. I was just getting focused on, okay, not gonna be long, and I'm going to be out there, so I better not screw this up.
Well, you were well prepared.
Yeah.
I know you work. Even watching you with the people you work out. We'll talk about that. But where does God fit in your life, Jake?
Well, it's everything. People like me, and I go back to the background in athletics and going from athletics into law enforcement, and it's just kind of an alpha male type existence. And I was raised a Catholic, and I went to church, but I never really had a relationship, with Jesus, or read the Bible, or really hung around Christians or anything. And I always tell people sometimes people have to be brought to their knees to look up. And I went through some tough times in my life. And I kind of got some direction once again from my wife, and she was always an example of that. And just a few months after she kind of gave up her life and dedicated her life to Christ and became a follower, I followed suit. And it's been a journey, but it's a grounding thing in my life, and it's helped keep me around and help me be hopefully help people out. And but it's a big deal. I read a whole chapter about it in the book.
Number one in my life, the drinking thing, I'm not going to spend but 2 seconds on it other than say May 28th of 23, I stopped drinking, poured it all down the drain at Houghton Lake, all down the drain.
I'm proud of you, brother. That's one of the first things you told me when I met you. And that's awesome. Awesome. Life-changing.
Yeah. Spiritually, mentally, physically, and you're helping the physically is
it's a project.
Yeah. We could talk for 12 hours and just scratch the surface on your career with the U.S. Border Patrol. Tell us about that, Jake.
Wow, it was awesome, and it's so outside the box. I remember when I made the decision. I really didn't know. I went to Michigan, and my dad he said, "What are you gonna do when you get out?" And I said, "I'm gonna play in the NFL. I'm gonna good enough to get on a roster or something." And he said, "Well, you want to have a backup plan, And he said, "So I want to make sure." And as one of my high school teachers and one of my professors at Michigan said, "You're not quite sure what you're going to do, but you better learn to read, you better learn to write, and you better learn to public speak, because those are things that you're going to need to be successful in life." So I kind of adhered to that. I was always drawn. I've been a voracious reader my whole life, and I liked writing. I liked English classes, and I took communications and public speaking at Michigan because people said it was pretty easy to get an A, and you just had to kind of stand up and talk. And I've never been shy, and so I got up there and did some speeches and had some things, and I really enjoyed it. But when I got out, I all of a sudden I wasn't good enough. I wasn't didn't make a team. I wasn't even asked for a tryout or anything, and I kind of was waffling a little bit. Didn't know what I was going to do. A friend of mine invited me to Detroit to meet some. She was an ATF agent, and I met some ATF guys and hung out with some guys and thought it's kind of cool. And one of the guys said, "Man, this is a great career. You ought to look into it. The FBI or these other agencies would grab a guy like you." So I wanted to get in the FBI, and the FBI at the time weren't hiring. So I said, "What's a way I could get in and just get my feet wet?" And the guys recommended joining the U.S. Border Patrol. I had no idea what the Border Patrol did. A lot of people, well, unfortunately, they do now, but they didn't at the time. And they said, "Well, it's the hardest. It's the Marine Corps of federal law enforcement training, and it's the hardest thing that they do. And it's a 6-month academy, and you run and have to do PT, and you have to learn Spanish, and you got to learn to pursuit drive and shoot guns." And that sounded pretty cool to me. Mm-hmm. And the guy kind of challenged me. He said, "But when I did my oral interview with the Border Patrol, they said, 'Well, you realize our academy is the toughest academy there is, and 6 months down in South Georgia, and PT every day, and running and calisthenics, and paramilitary, and wearing boots and shining up and marching in formation.'" And he said, "Are you tough enough to handle that?" And I said, "Well," I looked at him. I said, "If I handled 4 years of Bo Schembechler at Michigan, I think I'm probably tough enough to handle anything that you guys can throw at me." And they looked at me like, "What's this guy talking about?" But I thrived on it. I loved it. I loved being part of the outfit. I was back on a team. We had a special mission, and we had a lot of fun. I was in Douglas, Arizona, stationed there initially for 3 years, and then I got tapped to become an acting supervisor at the U.S. Border Patrol Academy as a PT instructor, which is kind of like the civilian equivalent, if you will, of a Marine drill instructor. And I got down there to the academy, and man, I just thrived on that. And I stayed as long as I could, and I ended up ending my career there. I moved up. I left the Border Patrol for a while and went to Department of Treasury as a course developer and instructor. And then the Department of Justice hired me back in a higher position, and I left after 10 years of service. And that was my plan. I never planned on staying 30 years and that kind of stuff. I told my wife when we did this it was going to be a 10-year deal, and she had built her career up, and we made a decision, and it was a prayerful decision for me to leave my federal career and to come back to Michigan so my children could, have a full-time father, and we could enjoy being around grandparents and enjoy, living in Michigan. I was in Arizona for 3 years, and then we lived on St. Simon's Island, Georgia for 7 years, which was a beautiful place to live. And so I got a chance to, live in Arizona, and I got a chance to live, close to Florida, but real close, like 50 miles from the border. And I loved it. So great career. Would not trade it for the world. Loved it. Still very, very proud. One of my proudest accomplishments is graduating from the 195th session of the U.S. Border Patrol Academy.
That's fantastic. Yeah. I like you, speak Spanish. I'd really like to do the rest of the show in Spanish.
Claro que sí. Vámonos.
como está ustedes? Uno, dos, tres, cuatro.
Okay. And throw cerveza out there and taco. Okay.
Then
Yeah. And you've been to Cancun. Yeah, we've heard it all before.
Why did you write the book, Jake?
You know, I wrote the book. I talked about it for years. I mean, probably more than, probably could have written 20 books in the time I told people I was writing a book. It just kind of sounded good. But I always had been interested in writing a book. And when, I think it's one of these deals where I finally, spent enough time and had enough leanings and listenings to maybe God tapping on my shoulder. I wanted to commemorate and honor the great leaders, mentors, teachers, people in my life that had a positive influence. And I always enjoyed telling people the stories about, people that gave me advice, life advice, or people that had modeled behaviors that I was attracted to or that made them successful. And I just, decided to just put something together to do that. But I also wanted to share that, not only in, oral when I talk about it, but to have something written, and then, be able to challenge some people. Have, each chapter has, it's got a biblical quote. It's got a quote, from someone else, and then it has a lesson, and then it has what I learned from those lessons, and what you can learn from those lessons, and that was it. And I just went through, and I found 12 different what I think life impacting things that happened or people, and I just wanted to share that with people.
It's 102 pages, and my wife.
I thought it was more than that.
It's 102.
You sure about that? I thought it was 128.
You want me to pull it out?
I'm just thinking about, what's the last page number? I mean, are you counting?
102.
Huh?
Right there.
Oh, there you go. All right, Ron.
I did my homework.
There you go. Well, it's large print, too.
Don't I always? We're a large print. Yeah, that helps.
Not as large as the print on your phone, but it's large.
But my wife will go on vacation. She'll read 6 books at Naples or Marco Island in a week.
Yeah.
I'll read 1 or 2 books in the week or 2 weeks. And this one I read in 2 hours, and then 4 hours.
And you know what that's called?
Can't put it down.
It's called an airplane book. It's a domestic air flight. You can read it there. Boom.
Yeah. $20 at Amazon.
There you go.
It's well worth it.
Well, thank you.
I loved every second in that book. Every second.
It came out good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It was a long time getting it, and then it was a short time to finish. I had one of my athletes that I work with. I train him and do performance training with him, and we were talking about goals and, doing something. You have a dream, and then you turn it into a goal. And, if it's a goal, it has to have action-based, and it has to have a finish line. And, we were talking one time, and he accepted a really very hard challenge that I gave him and did a great job. And he's going to be, I believe he'll be playing in the NHL someday in the near future because of the work that he's put in. He put in, not me. I just suggested it. And he said, Coach, what about, you said you're writing a book. When are you going to finish that up? And that was like just, it was kind of like a challenge almost. And he kind of had a smirk on his face, and he knew because I'd challenged him before. And I believe that from the day he said that till the time it was printed and published, it was about 4 months. I wrapped it up quick, and I just did that I just sequestered myself every afternoon at the Canton Public Library and finished and had it proofread and got it off and finished it. So it took a long time to write, took a short time to finish.
A lot of books are just a lot of nothing, ramble, and the beauty there, and it's just it's to the point, which I like.
Yeah. Well,
Get to the point. Don't just don't write words to be saying words.
Yeah.
Everything in there means something. It's important, and everything we've already discussed is in there.
Well, in the world of AI and ghostwriting, who knows who wrote the stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it was funny because one of the first copies when I got the box of, from the publishers, I autographed one, and I sent one to my high school coach, and I have a chapter dedicated to him in there. And he said when he got it, he and his wife, Bobby, who remain great friends, and he said, I knew that you wrote that yourself because I could feel you talking when you wrote it. And I said, thanks, because that was the goal. It was me telling a story, And,
it's a great compliment.
Yeah, well.
Small town upbringing.
Yeah,
you talked a little bit. What's that mean to you?
It just means a lot. Just you learn. You're just different. It's different. We now have a place in northern Michigan in a rural area, and it's close to Alpena. And Alpena is a relatively small town, but I like the small town America. I grew up there. I feel safe. I feel more Americana. I enjoy it. Not dissing, the city. I mean, we lived here for a very, strategic reason. It was close to my in-laws, who live in Dearborn. My mother-in-law and my father-in-law passed away a year ago, but my parents are both gone. But my parents were in Alma or in Mount Pleasant, and then at the lake. But I have roots in small towns, and it's a great memory. I think it just, I don't know. I mean, Douglas, Arizona was a relatively small town. I was stationed in my first duty station, the border city. Agua Prieta, Sonora was a big border, and about 100,000 people there. And then we went to St. Simon's Island, Georgia, which, 15, 20,000 people, which, small town, resort town. It would, kind of fill up in the summer, but I just like small towns.
Yeah, they're
like
fun.
the John Cougar Mellencamp, small town.
We're going to see him at Pine Knob.
He's going to actually write songs and play songs about his old songs. I heard it. He was on Joe Rogan, and I listened. I've always been a fan, but and then
Rogan or Mellencamp?
Both actually.
Yeah, we're done with Bruce Springsteen. He's out like De Niro. They nobody wants to hear what they're saying.
Well, Mellencamp
just
was
actors sing.
Mellencamp was on that same track, Ron. And
was
then,
he?
Yeah, when on Rogan he talks about it, he said, you know what? I had to realize that people want to hear my music. They don't want to hear my political views. And I think a lot of entertainers should probably take that advice, regardless of what side you're on.
Be like Willie, make his Willie's drink or go puff in your trailer. People do that.
Do what you got to do.
Bother,
yeah, right,
bother people.
I don't look to them to, I don't look to them for direction in my life. Mm-hmm. I look up.
You're a third generation coach.
Never thought I would be.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't. I remember saying, what are you going to do when you get done? I said, well, I can tell you one thing: I'm not going to teach and I'm not going to coach. And I don't know, And my mom used to get mad. Don't you? Your life has been pretty good from your dad coaching. And I wasn't in a negative sense. It just wasn't something I aspired to do. And then it was kind of funny. God's always got a plan, and you don't know what sometimes it's going to roll out. But I remember the Border Patrol had a big hiring push, and they needed physical techniques instructors. And when I was at the academy as a trainee, my PT instructor was a guy who played college basketball before he got in the Border Patrol. And, I was obviously, I was in good shape and I loved what I was doing. And he kind of identified and he said, with your background, you love this stuff, man. He goes, you ought to consider putting in for one of these positions at the academy. You'd love this. You get to live on St. Simon's Island. You get to, 7:30 to 4:30, weekends off, it's pretty good gig from shift work on the Mexican border. And I'm thinking, yeah. And so the opportunity came at a very young age in my career young career, I guess, and I was selected. And I was like, wow, hit the lottery here. And I went to the academy, from Douglas after, being on the line, and really never came back. Came back for a few months to kind of pack up, move across the country, and end my career as a what they call a line agent. A line agent is an agent that works the Mexican border, and I loved it, but I there wasn't a future in it. Shift work and that's a grind, man. And it's a dangerous undertaking.
You must have saw some stuff.
Yeah, I did. Sure. I know, a lot of drug seizures, a lot of people, saw a lot of, human trafficking before they called it human trafficking. We just called it alien smuggling, but, it changes.
Am I handling that okay? That is Bo Schembechler, and he wrote this, and Larry, he let me take it off his wall the other day and bring this also. We love Michigan
I
football.
gave that to you. In fact, that's a little eerie sitting there with the head bobbling while I'm doing this.
I'm starting to get noises.
I'm starting to get PSTD from this.
This was happening.
Why don't you put that away for a while until I,
PTSD.
I still have nightmares about that guy.
Yeah, Reggie McKenzie. We had to bleep, bleep, bleep. He was with Tori and I believe out in the middle there, Cam, and it's like, easy. My kids and grandkids are going to watch this, Reggie.
Yeah, no.
We're not going to have that in this room. You'll kill me.
Yeah,
but, Reggie, and he was great. Reggie McKenzie's cool.
Well, I know Reggie. Of course he is.
Yeah. But this says to Larry, the best long snapper in America and a great friend, Bo Schembechler. Man. That's priceless.
Well, that's the kind of stuff you write on a thing when a guy asks for your autographed picture,
Yeah. It's pretty special.
It's subjective.
He meant it.
No, he was a great guy. He anybody that played for him, you at the time you're playing for the guy, you may not like him, and there were times where I certainly didn't, but he helped mold a lot of us, most of us, into successful men and people. Because he used to say it, and I say it in the book. He didn't care about if you're pro contract or how good a player you were. All that. He cared about what kind of a person you became when you left. What kind of a father? What kind of a leader? What kind of a guy in the community? What kind of a friend? What kind of a teammate? And that holds true. So when people say, "Oh, there's been a lot of successful guys," well, it was ingrained in us. And we came from a lot of different backgrounds. I mean, certainly didn't come from my background. A lot of the guys I played with and came together, and he molded us into a team, and he taught us how to be, the team. And we weren't always the most talented. He used to say it. We may not be the most talented. We may not be the best coach. There may be better coaches than us. He'd kind of laugh, and then he'd say, "But no one's going to outwork us. And no one's going to be in better shape." And I totally agree that the games we won were because of that very reason, because we played some very good teams. Talent level, they might have been better, but we just kind of outlasted them and out-toughed them. And that was his mantra.
Yeah, fourth quarter.
For sure.
You had mentioned to me earlier regarding, you have a Bo story you'd like to.
There's a bunch of them.
Yeah, well.
But, I'm always asked, what was it like to play for him, and what was it like to get offered by him and stuff like that. And to tell you the truth, he didn't offer me a scholarship. He told me on my official visit. He said, "You're coming here. I know your father. I've been recruiting you since 10th grade. You've been number one on our board. I want you to play for me. You're a Michigan guy. So let's just do this." And I said, "Okay." And we shook hands, and he said, "Let's call your dad." And right from his office, we called my dad and said, "Larry committed, and he's coming here, and I'm glad to have him." And, and I took visits, and I did everything, and was recruited and took all that. But I mean, he didn't say, "Do you want to come here?" I mean, he just told me, "You're coming here."
He did that with Messner.
Yeah, I mean, I just told me.
Same thing.
I mean,
shoved a VHS tape in his chest.
And I had to call a couple coaches, and I had developed relationships with a couple coaches. I developed a good relationship with the guy that was recruiting me at Indiana, and I recruit one of Lee Corso's guys, and I developed a good relationship with the guy who was at Michigan State who was recruiting me at Arizona State, and they both wished me well, but I think they kind of knew that I was going to go. To Michigan the whole time, because they were recruiting me, and they wanted me, and ended up working out good.
Messner said about Bo, he said when they got back, I think it would have been Gary Moeller and Bo were in his 77 Oldsmobile 4-door clunker in his driveway. He just got back from UCLA. Terry Donahue, I believe, was recruiting him. And he was going palm trees, hot pants and all the halters and all.
Oh, yeah.
He was into
I remember. That's kind of the way it was at Arizona State, too. You kind of get, you visit there when you're in Michigan in the wintertime, and you kind of get, and I remember coming home and telling my high school coach, I said, "Man, it's great out there." He goes, "Yeah, you ain't been there in August, brother." He goes, "They should have brought you out there then."
You're right.
And I lived there for 3 years. I know.
Oh,
yeah.
It
You wouldn't want to play ball there. And I did. When I lived in South Georgia, I would think about those guys playing down there. It's no wonder the SEC is good. Just living in that condition make you tough.
Yeah, that humidity and heat. Oh,
but no, Schembechler was very, very. He knew what he wanted to be. It's funny. My dad, he always wanted me to go to Michigan. He didn't say that. He was always a Michigan fan. And my high school coach thought I was going to go to Notre Dame because I was always a big Notre Dame fan. But one of my best memories of life is I was watching on a black and white TV with my dad. I was probably 7 years old, watching the '69 game when Michigan beat Ohio State. And I watched with my dad, just he and I. And I remember watching. He was just going crazy. My dad was a huge Michigan fan, and he loved Bo Schembechler. He had met Bo in the coaching circles and stuff, and he knew that would probably be the guy that he would want me to play for. And, if I was in that situation now and had a son that was the same deal, I would definitely, I might be a little more forceful in recommending that if I had a son, then he was still around, that he would play for him.
Yeah.
That would be
special.
It would be good advice.
Messner's comment right here was, he said this, Jake, well, you saw it, but I thought it was hilarious. He said, "How could a guy 5'8" and he's 6'4" and like a monster? I mean, built, chiseled. His dad played for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh, yeah.
He said, "How could a guy 5'8" and 165, 70 pounds scare the bejesus out of me?"
I'm telling you, the guy had a way.
Yeah.
He had a way. I mean, I still, to this day, Ron, I still have nightmares about two things, being late for a meeting and, going in and not being able to find my helmet. So I never took my helmet off. I said, if I leave that helmet, they misplace it, and all of a sudden you get called out to play on a special teams play or something, and you don't have your dude. I still wake up and it was just a dream after all these years.
Where's my helmet?
I mean, seriously,
Yeah.
man. It's just, we all have those same ones. We all laugh about that guy, but when he was serious.
Yeah.
I mean, you knew when he was,
Who is the best athlete you've trained, Jake?
I've trained.
Yes.
Yeah, I've trained. I've had the pleasure. I mean, I have some, guys who still play professionally. I mean, there's a guy named Michael Jordan. I think he's still playing for Tampa Bay. He's played for maybe 10 years in the league. He was an All-American at Ohio State, the Ohio State. He left Canton High School. He played for Plymouth High School. A good friend of mine, Mike Sawchuk, I was helping out there, and
Was he from the Sawchuk family? His dad's
a goalie at the Red Wings. Yeah, Mike Sawchuk was the head football coach at Plymouth, and his older brother Terry is still coaching at Catholic Central. Football coach Terry.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
named after their father, Terry Sawchuk, whose jersey and numbers hanging in the rafters. Well, what LCA now? It used to be Joe Louis, and then before that it was Olympia. Mm-hmm. But anyway, Michael Jordan was a great player. Came to me when he was a huge high school kid, and I wondered if he was going to be tough enough, and initially, and then I saw the foot. He reminded me of his feet and his athletic ability. Reminded me of Bubba Paris, except he was bigger than Bubba Paris. He ended up going to Ohio State, ended up being an All-American, played only 3 years there, drafted, and then he's had an NFL career. He's a great player, and he still comes back, come around. I still in contact with him. And then a young man named Matt Roy plays for the Washington Capitals. And Matt went to Michigan Tech and started with me when he was in 7th grade. He used to ride his bike to my gym. Great player, but I think overall the best athlete all around was a young lady that played volleyball at LSU and TCU, a lady named Olivia Beyer. And her brother Brennan played at Michigan 4 years. During the Hoke years, Brennan Beyer played for the Baltimore Ravens for 3 years. But as an athlete, for genetic size and ability and just a passion for the game and hardworking, Olivia Beyer would probably be the best athlete I've ever trained. Yeah, and she was an All-American volleyball player.
Nice.
Yeah.
And what is performance coaching?
It's something, it's a performance coaching is helping athletes and or business people or adults, people that are having trouble. They have a dream and they turn it into a goal and they want to achieve it, but there's something stopping them. They need a process or a program, someone to kind of help them get to the next level. So whether it be, physical ability for athletes, physical conditioning for adults, or business goals for salespeople, or someone who's finishing a book, or someone who's doing a project, or someone who's having just trouble in life, putting a plan together. And it's quite simple. I mean, I said that, there's a dream, and then you turn a dream into a goal. Well, it requires action. So you have to put a plan together. You have to find out how committed someone is, what they're willing to do. And, a lot of people in the initial phases when someone says, hey, I want to come to you and I want you to work with me, when I work with them and we start talking about what their goal is, and then you want to lay down and say, what's your commitment level? And you want to kind of give them a preview of what it's going to take to get there. You find out that they don't really want it as much as they say they do, because the work that's going to take. And there's no overnight sensations. And the thing that a lot of people, especially with younger people, is the social media thing, I think, is kind of giving people a false sense of how to be successful, because they see someone being successful, but they don't see the process from when that person started on the road to become successful. And so performance coaching is a way to work them through it, how to handle, setting goals, giving them a 90-day challenge, spend 90 days. Okay, we're going to do 90 days, or we're going to do 3 different activities each day to help you achieve your goal. And one will be maybe mental, one will be physical, one will be, some organization, some kind of skill, and then you help them through. And a lot of times you can judge someone's commitment level by giving them that kind of commitment for a time period and seeing if they actually will walk it through. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm at about a 50% rate with the people I work with. About 50% of them actually do the 90-day challenge. But once you get someone doing that and they spend that time with a disciplined, workload, it becomes a habit. Once that becomes a habit and they realize that they benefit from it, then they become devoted to that activity that helps them be successful. So it sounds kind of like psychobabble, but it's not. It's just a process. How does someone become a great pitcher, Ron? How does someone become a great a great salesperson. It's a numbers game and it's time. You have to teach them how to time block. And I think the two things people lack a lot of times, the basic skills, are the organization necessary to do something like that, and also the time blocking. Spend a specific period of time, totally focused, no iPhones, no noise, no distractions, doing exactly what you need to do to further your goal. And once you get people locked up on that, they're like, wow, this works. So it's in anything. I'm sure you've had sales goals that you've achieved, and you know how it happens, but some people don't have somebody to teach them that method. They rely on, social media or TikTok videos and stuff, and I think that's really hurting in the long run people's success.
Yeah, the communication is face-to-face is the best sort of sales. You can go text messages, emails, this, that, blah, 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 even on the phone, but right here, face-to-face, eye-to-eye, that's where you get your most sales. Well, everybody knows that.
COVID showed that. I mean, there were people, I remember when COVID hit and they shut down gyms, and I was one of the, shut down everything, and I'm going to do an online training, and I'm going to make videos, and people are going to follow, and they're going to say, no, it doesn't work that way. And my wife saw it with her business too. They went, kind of went online, and it's a relationship, dude. It's all about, building relationships with people. I read a book about it, and one of my chapters is called The Power of the Posse. And it's the power of community. I've had clients come to me and say, I can get a kind of workout you do here anywhere. But what I like about what you do here is, is the people we work out with, and we get to know each other and work out, and we hold each other accountable. There's three things with group training. You have accountability, you get camaraderie, and you've got some competitive nature. And this was evidence. I realized this kind of phenomenon. I certainly didn't invent group training, but I knew that would be a way to certainly maximize my time when I was, and still am doing group training. But I had a guy leave, and he moved away, and he said, hey, he said, I got a guy that's a gym down in, he moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and he said, he's a good trainer, he's a nice guy, but he said, with him, it's just a workout. And he said, with you, it's an event.
Yeah.
So I took that as a comment, and you've been with me a while, and you know that you never know what you're going to run into at my place with the people there and the things that are going on, the other trainers, and who you're going to meet. It's just fun. That's that human interaction. It's proven. We need that community.
Yeah, no question. And it's fun to be there. It's
well, good. I'm glad you enjoy it.
My buddy, I talk about him all the time, and Dr. Timothy Kaczynski, and he helps people. He used to do the priest at Catholic Central. He does a lot of retired Red Wings, and he's at 14 in Orchard Lake, or 14 in Telegraph. But he is painless dentistry.
Okay.
I smile. He's got 12 implants in my mouth, and he gives me the St. Agatha discount, and I've taken 6-7 people to him, but I think he charges me like 30% more, maybe because I don't know why, but I think he's charging me extra.
Knowing you the amount of time that I've known you, I probably know why he's charging you 30% more, okay?
Why? Tell me. I'll change that.
Well, my associate at the gym, Brad, said he would stretch you, but he's going to charge you. He's going to charge you double.
You guys, man. Small town boys.
It is.
We talked earlier. I said I could talk you 12 hours easily on all day long about your Border Patrol, U.S. Border Patrol. I'm really interested in that. But as far as talking another 12 hours easily,
well, we won't do 12 hours because your people don't want to listen to us that long.
Tori loves these.
Huh?
Yeah, we're good.
She's getting compensated for this. She's a professional. She's gonna tell you that.
Oh, okay. Let me get this question to you.
Go ahead.
The 12 hours I'm talking about. Your wife Dawn's career with Mary Kay. Tell us about it.
Oh, well, it's shorten that up, but it was funny. She has a business degree from the University of Michigan, and you talk about outside the box. I mean, you look at two people. I have a degree, a general studies degree, like Jim Harbaugh and Jim Hackett and other people at Michigan. David Brandon, Bachelor of General Studies, and my wife's got a business degree from Michigan. And I go off and join the Border Patrol with a business degree, which didn't mean a whole lot for that outfit. It helped me, but my wife meets a lady. She gets a job, with May Company in retailing out of business school at Michigan, and it looks like she's on the way, and her parents have paid for the education, and she's fired up, and all of a sudden she realizes, wow, this retail world is not what it's drummed up to me. And she runs into a really sharp looking lady who asked my wife to be like a face model And my wife, she had big diamond rings on, and she looked great. And my wife was doing some comparative studies shopping study at a mall outside of Cleveland. And this lady, she didn't know. She goes, "Have you ever been to Mary Kay at a facial or something?" And my wife went to a meeting and saw the opportunity. She wasn't real impressed with the meeting. She went, "Well, I've been in a sorority. This is kind of goofy." And the lady said, "No, you don't understand." He goes, "These ladies are here. They're making money. They're getting complimented. It's a community, and it's an opportunity to really teach people how to build a business, but to have a great career in your own business." And from that day, she started. And isn't it crazy? You talk about coincidences and God winks and things. But the same day that my wife signed her agreement to be a Mary Kay Beauty consultant is the same day that I entered on duty as a U.S. Border Patrol agent, May 19th, 1986.
It's in the book.
Yeah, and since then she became a sales director, and she became a Cadillac sales director. And yes, you will ask me, have you driven a pink Cadillac? We have had pink Cadillacs for 35 years. The last ones being Escalade.
That shirt you're wearing kind of matches.
Kind of nice. And I'm not afraid of color, but pink is a good color of money. But she's had a great career. She's mentored a lot of people, and she's a special lady, and she loves it. She's passionate about it. I mean, passionate. And when you're passionate about your profession, people say you never have to work a day in your life. She's getting ready to retire in a couple of years, and it's been a great career. It's changed my life. It gave me financial opportunities that I would have not had the option to have. And I've seen the world. I mean, I have literally seen the world on top trips that she's won because of her success.
You're known now as about Jake's House of Iron, and it's just great. I've got to say thank you, me and the thousands of other people, because you encourage when you train. When I grew up, I had I don't know where I learned it, but I really always had with my teammates a really great, a great trait for anybody. Mm-hmm. And it's to say, good job. Yeah. Nice hit. Racquetball. Hey, nice hit. Way to pinch it in the corner. Way to play. Good job. And that's sport. That's sport.
People love encouragement, Ron. Yeah, people love positive encouragement.
And you do that well.
Well, I mean, it's a gift. It's a coaching gift. I grew up with it. I that's what I did. That's the environment I grew up in. It was called meritocracy. I mean, you were rewarded for doing good and winning. There's winners and losers, and a lot of times it's tough in these days, especially training athletes. I train a bunch of people in the summertime. We train a whole soccer program, and some of those kids that work their butts off all summer with us, they don't make the team. And we preface that on day one. Hey, there are a lot of you here, but the numbers don't lie. And it's like anything else. There's going to be some people going to make the team, and there's people, but that's life. Sometimes you get cut. You got to move on. And, it's face the facts. We're in a world now where everybody wins a trophy, everybody gets on the team, and it doesn't bode well for life, as I'm sure you know. Yeah. Not everybody wins, Ron.
You and I had a funny. We've had a lot of funny things, and we did it's private sessions, and I've just loved them with you. And you push, and everything's with a purpose. And we kind of said that this younger generation. I'm going to say it because I don't care. Yeah. A lot of them have not been punched in the face, and it may seem mean, or seem that, hey, Jake, those fights on the playground, those fights when you had them. My grandson tells me some little fat kid comes over and trips him and throws him. He gets in a mud puddle. And he can't come up after him. He's like, you got to hold yourself. I'm just saying that's my old school opinion. Okay. That's all.
I agree with you in part on that. I think that that may be something that maybe the kids aren't as attuned to as they were possibly in our generation. But I think the main thing. I had a great coach. And this guy was a 4-year All-American at Oklahoma State. He's been a world champion. He's an Olympic gold medalist. He's a coach. His sons are he's a wrestler. His name's Kenny Monday. He's a great friend of mine. And how did I meet him? His wife is a peer of my wife's in Mary Kay. She too was a national sales director. So I met Kenny on these trips around the world. And when I first saw him, I thought, I'm scared of this guy just looking at him. He was a UFC fighter too, and part of his career, but he's just a great coach and a great friend. And I was, just pounding on the table and complaining, I can't get these kids. I can't get them to turn the quarter. I can't get them in. Why aren't there not more of them? Why don't they want to be better? And he said that kids are the same. In fact, kids are actually better. They have better opportunity to train. They have better nutrition. They're bigger, earlier. They have year-round opportunities to play a sport. But he goes, what their problem is, and I think this is huge, and it's a society thing. They're distracted. And he goes, you need to find a way to focus them and get them not distracted. And I'm like, that makes total sense. And if you look at stats, the average American, and this doesn't include teenagers, the average American, Ron, and I will fall in that category, spends 2.5 hours a day scrolling on social media. That's 1 month a year. So now you've taken a 12-month year and you've turned it into 11 months. And that's the average American. That's not texting. That's not emails. That's social media that is developed by AI that gets you to continue to stroll. So you want someone to be successful and have time. Where are they going to have the time if they can't? They talk about one of the things that really helps develop people is what they call, sustained reading. And they say, well, I don't read books. I read like on my phone or my tablet. Well, when you're reading on your phone and your tablet, you're getting text, you're getting emails, you're getting Twitters, you're getting all this stuff. And so you're not focusing on reading a couple pages. You're all, boom, distracted. You're doing this, you're doing this, you're doing this. And that's a problem. That's a problem not just with athletes. It's a problem with people in general. I talk about that when I talk to groups. So I think it's they don't, maybe not fights on the playgrounds or toughness, but I think a big part of the reason is distraction and getting them to focus.
What'd you say?
Yeah, there we go. You're busy looking at a Twitter feed or something.
I heard
or
it.
X or whatever it is. Or maybe you fell asleep when I was rambling.
It's called Irish humor.
Don't get me going. You're stray. You need to come back, get focused again. Get the notes out.
Yeah.
There we go. You've reached your attention span.
It's an hour. I got a headache now.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry. I hope I didn't contribute to it.
Not at all. Okay, 2-part question.
Okay, brother.
Have we missed anything you'd like to discuss?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I don't believe so. I mean, we haven't talked about. I might have a great grandson, and not great. He's great, but he's not my great grandson. He's 3 years old, and he's a center of our lives. We love it. It's our first, grandchild. My daughter Allie, and she married a young man who was worked out at my facility. His grandfather brought him to me and said, "Hey, this kid's going to play in the NHL someday and play for money. He's going to be a great hockey player." And I'm like, "Oh, well, I hope so." But I hear that from parents a lot. And he came in and worked. He's worked out with me, and he's very talented. And in the interim, he met my daughter, who was training with me when she was a volleyball player. And I always had this rule: we call it the House of Iron romances. And next thing you know, he's texting me and asking me if he can talk to my daughter. And my wife and I are sitting talking, and we said, "Well, yeah, he's a nice kid. We'll let him." And well, that's my son-in-law. And my daughter hit a home run, and so did we. He's a great guy, Cody Wido, and he's the father of my grandson. And
how old's the grandson?
He's 3. He'll be 3 at the end of June. And
great
man,
time.
Oh my God, I love the guy. We just, he's just amazing. And my daughter, Alden, and I talked about her career, and my son-in-law Cody, and they're the center of my life, my wife, and it's family. It's God family, and that's how we roll.
Country.
Yeah.
After the final curtain falls, how would you like people to remember you, Jake?
I just want to be, one of the nicest things that Bo Schembechler ever said, about me, it was the awards when we got our 4-year Letterman ring. And it used to be what they call the Renaissance Center. They don't have it anymore. It was down at their GM. We'd take buses down, and the parents would come, and it was, you'd get your M ring. And he said, I recruited this guy to Alma, Michigan, and he right away said, if I'm the best, he asked me, will you play me as a freshman if I'm the best you got? And I gave him my word, and he said he's played 47 straight games, and he's going to be playing his 48th here in a couple of weeks in the Sugar Bowl. And he said, but this Sweeney kid has been a great teammate, and he's just a good guy. He's fun to be around, and we've really enjoyed having him. He's a good football player too. But I think I'd like people to remember me as just someone that helped them get better. That's why I do what I do. I want people to get better. And people come to me and they want to get in better shape. They want to be a better athlete. Just provide a path that can help them get, to improve. And that's that coaching thing now. I avoided it for a while, but I all of a sudden realized that's my purpose. And they say if you have a purpose and that's your devotion, that's always going to drive you. And I think that's what gets me up at 4:30 in the morning to get to the gym and work people out at 6 a.m. Well, most of the world's still sleeping, and keep doing it for a while, even into my advanced age, and still have the energy and, God willing, the body to continue to do what I do. But I really thank you for having me on, brother. It's been fun.
Oh, it's been great. I appreciate you coming over, and we're going to spend some time together tomorrow, I think, right?
I think so, and I'm going to torture you just because I can.
Yeah, you're good at it.
Yeah. And you're paying me for it. It's great.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, isn't it?
It really is. I had a guy one time tell me, he goes, I can't believe I pay you for this. You ought to pay me for this abuse. I said, I never looked at it that way.
Well, you like to torture people, evidently, Jake. That's. But we're going to stop here for a second. We've got the pickle time. You've heard of it?
The pickle time. Well, I've heard about it.
This is really cool. I wanted to show. That's a picture at the big house with the Mellow Men of Michigan, and Jake followed them in. And these guys are the ones that couldn't start as freshmen. I think every one of them in that picture, from Billy Taylor to Tom Darden, Touchdown Billy, all of them in this. I think they all played. Reggie McKenzie sitting there. They all played in the NFL.
Yeah.
And they could not play freshman year at Michigan because it wasn't allowed. And you came right after and played.
Well, it was quite a ways after, actually.
Yeah. But anyway.
About 12 years, something like that.
Yeah. Would you like to try the pickles?
Absolutely. That's why I came.
Hot ones, or you want to mild
I'll
first,
start with the
maybe?
hot. I'll start with the hot. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Do I get to open it?
Sure.
Oh, there we go. That opened fairly easy.
I couldn't open that last night.
Well, you will be after you work out a little bit longer.
Yeah, that'll help.
All right, so these are the spicy garlic dills, right?
You're
even going to get in there? Okay,
yeah, it's they're spicy.
And you make these yourself? Mm-hmm. These are good. But you got to remember, I lived on the Mexican border, so I don't know if this would be considered spicy.
Oh.
And maybe here,
yeah,
in the world of gringos, these are, they're spicy, but they're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to take that home.
They're good.
They're good, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's a crushed red pepper.
It's excellent.
Yeah.
You do those yourself? You sure?
Yeah, of course. Been doing them for 30 years.
How'd you learn that skill?
When I worked at the dental lab.
They taught you how to pickle?
Schumacher Zidane. The grandpa was a farmer from the old company, Zidane, from Europe.
Wow.
And I got his recipe. But you have to rate it one.
A lot of dill on that.
Yeah,
That's a dill. I mean, you can taste the fresh dill in there you use.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
What's interesting, you look at the date on both, it's August 17th of 25. So they maintain their crispness.
Yeah.
Pretty good, right?
Very good.
They're a year old. We're ready to make a new batch.
These are good. My mom and grandmother used to do pickles, but I got to tell you right now, I think yours are better.
Oh, really?
Yep. Those are excellent, dude. Those are excellent.
You want to tighten that up good, Jake.
I can do that. I got
this
this machine called Gripper. We do grip. We do grip work.
Okay.
These are good, dude.
Oh, I've been doing those.
I'm gonna give those a 10, Ron. I'm gonna give those a 10. And honestly, those are excellent, crispy, flavorful. Got a nice bite to them.
Great.
They won't last long. I eat a lot of these. My grandson loves them, and we like them. And thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you coming down and everything.
All right.
All right. Have a great day, Jake.
Thanks, brother.
I'm going to go see that movie tonight. What's it called?
Pressure.
Pressure.
Run up to World War II. Gonna like it.
Yeah.